Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Folks, it is official, he can't go anywhere. Of course, the irony is that the most popular president of all time is actually hitting a critical mass of unpopularity. And that's the irony, the most popular president of all time is so deeply unpopular that, get this, he can't even show up to liberal California without getting heckled or protested. This is the end of the Joe Biden political legacy, Joe Biden's first term. This is the end of his political career and the end of the Joe Biden era within the Democrat Party. Now, it's the same thing that I've been talking about. I mean, look, if you want to be a strong political candidate, ideally you want to pull from both sides. You want to get some Republicans to vote for you because they're scared of Donald Trump or they don't like whatever the Republican candidate is. You want to get independents and you want to get Democrats. You're trying to reach across the aisle. But you don't necessarily need to be popular across the political spectrum. You could also be a partisan president, where you just have extremely deep support from your Democrat base, a very enthused base, and then you get 50% of independents. You could win that way. You know how you're doomed and your party is doomed? If you're so deeply unpopular, then not only are Republicans never gonna vote for you, maybe only the Liz Cheney Republicans, which at this point barely exist, but if you're so deeply unpopular that even Democrats don't want to vote for you, well then, like I said, folks, you are done. And Joe Biden is done. He's had opportunities to win over his own base and to at least fight for them, but even Democrat voters don't want to vote for the Democrat president. That's the topic of this video. Let's start off with Joe Biden being heckled by a far-left environmentalist protester during his trip to Los Angeles, and then let me continue to make the point. Of course, that point being Joe Biden's unpopularity even within his own party. We got some stuff to get into, but of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible, and with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at this. Joe Biden gets heckled at the Summit of Americas. Joe Biden got heckled by a far-left environmentalist at the Summit of Americas this week. Biden participated in the inaugural ceremony of the 9th Summit of Americas at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. A far-left activist shouted, "No more fossil fuels," as Biden delivered remarks.
Welcome to Los Angeles. And I probably should stop right here because I've followed some difficult acts in the past.
No fossil fuels.
I've followed some difficult acts. Never before have I followed such a difficult act as I've seen the last 45 minutes of it. It's my honor to host my fellow leaders from throughout our hemisphere for the 9th Summit of the Americas. At a moment when we need.
And look, this is a learning moment and it's an I told you so moment. Democrats have really screwed up on this one. Over the last, I guess, decade or so, they've moved further and further towards the left, away from their moderate base. They've moved to appease and to appeal the most fringe minority leftist Democrat. And in doing so, they've alienated so many independents, so many moderate Democrats. I mean, we've seen the numbers. Specifically when it comes to state voter registration patterns, people are unregistering as Democrats and registering as Republicans at the highest rate we've seen in a very long time. And of course, Joe Biden has the lowest approval with independents that I think I've ever seen. And so the Democrats and Joe Biden have adopted this strategy to appeal to the AOC-style voter. To the ignorant young voter that doesn't even show up to the polls, Joe Biden has said stuff like this.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes. Number one, no more subsidies for fossil fuel industry, no more drilling on federal lands, no more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period.
And in the end, he's still getting heckled and protested. In the end, he still has Cenk Uygur, Mr. Water Buffalo at TYT, still ranting every single day at how weak and useless and feckless Joe Biden is, and how the only way the Democrats are going to win is if they play tough and as if they go so far left that they fly off a cliff. We covered the clip from Ethan Klein's H3 podcast not too long ago, where even on gun control and other issues, the far left activist Twitter perspective is something like this.
You know, it's funny, Biden, his big life goal, he tried to be president before, like 2 times. His whole life he's been working towards being president, and now he's doing nothing. He's worthless. You loser. He's like the worst president ever, maybe.
And so Joe came in advertising himself as being the most progressive president to ever occupy the White House. He pretended like he was going to adopt Bernie Sanders' agenda, tried to ram through the most ridiculous spending packages. I guess you could say almost tried to lead a socialist revolution in America. He's completely lost moderates and independents, and of course regular Americans who have to pay the price of his incompetence. And all the meanwhile, he still hasn't won over the fringe far left part of the party. I mean, what's the point? What are they doing? This is nothing but political sabotage. Again, what these leftoids and what these Democrats and what people in general don't seem to understand is when it comes to the far left woke mob, they're just miserable people. They're people who want problems. They want drama in their lives. They want to be unhappy. And so no matter what you do, you will never satisfy the woke mob. The best course of action is to literally ignore them. I mean, they're such a fringe minority in the first place. They actually have no power at all if you just pretend that they don't exist, because they basically don't. But apparently the Democrat establishment hasn't gotten the memo. And this guy, honestly, I feel bad for him. I think he's just not there anymore, and he's being used by woke staffers who are using him as a proxy to push their agenda. And what a train wreck it is to watch. Again, along this same concept that Joe Biden is being rejected by his own party. I mean, how do you expect to win the midterms in 2024 when even your own party won't show up to vote for you? And now we're seeing this. Democrats sound the alarm. They now want someone new in 2024. Top members of the Democrat Party do not want President Joe Biden on the presidential ticket in 2024 because they do not believe he can be reelected. Republicans are expected to have massive victories in the 2022 midterms, and just about all of the 50 Democrats interviewed do not believe that President Joe Biden can help the party keep the White House in 2024, the New York Times reported. Democrat National Committee DNC member Dave Simoniotis said that President Biden should step aside and allow someone else to take the reins in the 2024 election. To say our country was on the right track would flagrantly depart from reality, he said to the Times. Biden should announce his intent to not seek re-election in 2024, right after the midterms. Democrats need fresh, bold leadership for the 2024 presidential race. Shalia Huggins, a DNC member from North Carolina, said, "That can't be Biden." Like I've been saying for a long time, it's nothing but doom and gloom. Democrats are in a seriously rough spot. I mean, they've been attacking Donald Trump as a one-term president, but it's looking like the way history might be written in the end is that Joe Biden, their boy Joe Biden, might be the one-term failure, and Donald Trump might get that second term after all. Democrats are in a very precarious position where they're running out of options. Now, of course, they have options. They don't have good ones. Option number one is a defiant Joe Biden who's desperately clinging on power, and they're stuck having to roll with it, which is probably going to lead to electoral disaster in the next general election. The second option is to primary him. Not exactly a good idea. Presidential, not exactly a good idea. Since the advent of the modern primary election system in 1972, an incumbent president has never been defeated by a primary challenger, though every president who faced a strong primary challenge went on to be defeated in the general election. The Democrats choose to challenge Joe Biden because he refuses to relinquish power. Well, that's going to tell the American people that even the Democrats don't trust in their own leadership, which doesn't exactly make it enticing to vote for that political party and put them in power. And the third option is honestly just as bad, essentially forcing or strongly suggesting that your current president, your incumbent president, take a step back and let somebody else take his place as the leader of the party. Once again, not exactly confidence inspiring, but that's where the Democrats are right now. If they don't even trust their party leadership, then why should you? This guy is an utter disgrace and his own party is rejecting him. Again, the irony, the most popular president of all time actually in the end seems to be the least popular president ever, and really the numbers just speak for themselves. This guy just has no presence. Without the media propping him up, he basically doesn't exist. Without Jimmy Kimmel brown-nosing him, he'd just be another grandpa that you walk by on the street and think nothing of. I mean, for Pete's sakes, he single-handedly destroyed the White House YouTube channel. You know, when Donald Trump used to speak, people used to listen and people used to tune in. Take a look at this screenshot over the last 4 days of White House YouTube uploads. This is a dead YouTube channel. I mean, this is a serious mysteriously dead YouTube channel. That's the president of the United States and the most popular, most voted president ever. The guy can't even break 10,000 views when delivering remarks or during his briefings. What a disgrace. Even Democrats don't want him anymore. And the craziest thing is, people are talking about different options and replacing Joe. Joe still remains their best option. The Democrats are screwed unless they have an identity crisis real quick, somehow reform their party and their party's messaging, and find a very popular, charismatic, and coherent president in the next year and a half, 2 years, when the 2024 election starts to kick into full gear. In other words, the modern Democrat Party is screwed. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. I'm going to get back to work. I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next one.